Hello and welcome to the ROOZ, which is a very new series that I might be doing, that I will be doing even. Viper ended up putting me up to it, and I decided why not? Might as well have a try. You can see a bit of a hectic first lap, ended up getting a bit tagged. Not sure what else you'd be expecting though, as it is a lot of very competitive drivers battling out for the same space. Unfortunately, I only qualified P10, which is a record disaster for me. Fortunately enough, though, I do make up a bit of positions. As you can see here, I moved past Russell Evans, and I'm about to pass Brian here around the outside. And there I go, clear him. And then it's next up to chase after Mustafa, Razor, and Mint GTR. We'll be sticking on board, well, quote-unquote on board, for the first lap, as it is quite a hectic one, as you'll see very soon. But I was not confident going into this race because we did a meet and greet, and I've seen how fast this grid is. And honestly, I'll be happy with the 8th place I'm currently in. As you can see though, Mustafa horribly misjudges his braking zone. I end up getting tagged by Razor. Mint is off in the gravel trap, and I get front left damage, which makes it horrible to turn left, which you will see soon. But I am teammates with Bo and DSR Hatfield, which is fortunate enough for Bo, as he is what we like to call an alien. He is insanely fast and will probably be untouchable for the rest of this season. As you can see, what I was saying before, the damage goes right after the corner, and Razor is able to make the move. Unfortunately enough though, Razor does end up spinning the car, which promotes me back up to P5. I end up catching up to the likes of N64 and Hat, and a bit of team orders goes through here, and Hat is curious if I can end up getting the pass done on N64. As you can see, pull to the inside, Hat brakes earlier, and down the inside I go to attack for perhaps a podium position, which I was not expecting to do this race. And cutting onto the final corner of the same lap, and I'm getting a brilliant run off the final corner. N64 defends the inside. I decide to dart to the outside. As you can see, Bo is already 12 seconds ahead after 5 laps. He's insane. Do late braking, managed to get N64. However, N64 is not happy with me at all for some reason, and ends up slamming me onto the grass. Unfortunately for him though, that means that Hatfield will also get through, and now it's ignition 1, 3 and 4. Unfortunately, sorry, not even unfortunately, I got the mix clipped up. More team orders goes through here. Hatfield ends up going through, as I decided he was the faster driver at this point. And here's the unfortunately, I get tagged by N64, and into the wall he goes, which was catastrophic for him at the time. Cutting on to lap 7, where yet again team orders comes into play, as I get the better run on DSR Hatfield, as we decided after a couple of laps that perhaps I might be the faster driver. And at this point I still hadn't decided strategy whether or not I'd go for the 1 stop or the 2 stop, and you'll see it decided here that I do decide to go for that 2 stop. As I've seen with SRL, it's one of those stronger strategies, and quite frankly I'd much rather have tire wear, less tire wear at the end to push for the higher positions than be conserving for the rest of the race. It gives me a lot of options, and come out unfortunately in P8, which is the position I said I'd be fine with. However, I do get a brilliant run on Mustafa here. He's been recovering after that incident at the hairpin, and going into this corner, I'll brake him quite stupendously, hug it to the inside, and that's me up into P7. Catching up to now Captain Risky, who ran out wide here and surrendered the position, because with the driver's thinking of I was faster, therefore I was going to get through eventually, and with worn tyres it would just impact both of our races, so through I go. And it's off to chase after N64, who has recovered from the gravel trip. And as you can see, it takes me another lap to catch up to the back of him. Obviously on the 2 stop versus his 1 stop, I'd have to really push and get ahead of him here. Otherwise, I would have compromised my position later on in the race. And you'll see a very interesting strategy come from the man in front of me currently, Brian, who pulled off a very risky but also very ingenious tactic. Coming up to lap 12, I end up catching up to the back of Brian. He's running wide all over the place. I end up getting a run, but unfortunately it gets cut off due to Brian, and I decide yet again to try and mirror the move I did on lap 1. There's a bit of contact, and it's decided after Brian gets very loose. That was an amazing save by him, and that moves me up into P3. I was catching up to the back of Norm, but I decided to end up pitting after the last couple of laps where I was losing time. And as you can see, I pit in for the hards, the mandatory compound for this race. However, if you started on it, you did not have to pit back onto it, which meant that a lot of drivers did go for that one stop from the hards to the softs, sacrificing a bit of pace at the start to get the pace at the end. And as you can see, a teammate clash is going to happen here between me and Hatfield. Hatfield, being the owner of Ignition, really wants to push on for perhaps the podium that he might be able to catch Brian. Unfortunately here, I end up getting past on the fresher rubber, and he ends up switching into gear 3, trying to slot him behind, and ends up spinning the car, which was an unfortunate event for Ignition. However, he was able to work his way back up through the field. It does take me until lap 21, however, to catch up to Brian, who was, and we had decided at this time, on a no stop, which is a ridiculous concept. And I try and move around the outside, knowing that he's on those worn tyres, but yet again, fended off by the man in yellow. And at this point, it was desperation started to seep in, because it is my first race. I did start from 10th, and it would be brilliant to take home that podium position for my team. And with N64 catching up, that may not be a prospect that ends up happening. But as you can see, Brian is just struggling with those tyres. I'm able to hug onto the apexes with the hard tyres, and he's just nowhere. We come up against a lap down who unfortunately was not having the best of races, and as you see, I take full advantage of the last corner, being able to put in a lot more power than Brian, and end up steaming past. As you can see, I end up braking a bit too late, but that doesn't really impact me. However, what did impact me was this. Going around the final corner the very next lap, get on the grass again, and this was the scariest moment I've had in the league race. And end up keeping it from utter disaster. However, I would drop back to P5 behind N64. Luckily enough, now we get onto the exact same lap 3 corners later. I accidentally give a tag to N64. He keeps on track. However, he does end up losing it on the curb into Brian. Brian loses it into me, and then N64 ends up getting shunted off by Brian. It was decided after the race that this was... well, in my eyes it was my fault, but the resulting crash after that was not my fault. And coming around the final corner to take a P3 for Ignition, and my first ever podium in the ROOZ. And I was absolutely ecstatic with this. Bearing in mind 55 seconds behind Bo, but my race I believe was a lot more hectic than his. And as you can see, cutting on. 3rd place for Race on Oz Season 3, Div 1, Round 1. And that is a 3rd place with 7 positions gained. And that is a very good way to start off the season. I've been Pryingstingray, it feels weird to say. And talk to you all next week.